Before I get to the Mikey Basich episode, Ken Achenbach asked me if he could use his ad time this episode to promote his daughter's band, The Drink Tickets, and their debut album, Better. Ken's got 3 irons in the FNRad fire. Find an Epic agent where they match you with local real estate agents that pay you to buy or sell your home. Pro Standard GoPro accessories, which include the grill mount, a mouth guard mount for your GoPro that captures epic point-of-view action shots. And This Place Is Awesome Whistler Rentals, a 3D interactive online rental platform. If you've listened to the show, then you know I've been kicking around the FNRad radio show idea for a couple of seasons. I'm thinking a music show featuring bands who snowboard, listener submissions, playlists, songs from video parts. You get the picture. Something to get you pumped on the way to the hill, as well as a platform for snowboarders to share their music. So this is a little example of what I'm thinking. Here's a quick interview with the Drink Tickets lead singer, Kaya, talking about a song from their debut album, Better. If you like the format, message us and let us know. If you have a submission for a future episode, send it to fnradpodcast@hotmail.com. And lastly, if you're interested in helping to fund the show in return for presenting or sponsorship rights, message me. I'd love to create another fun show that connects with snowboarders. Here's Kaya talking about the song, What Are We?
What Are We was based off, so the entire album is kind of like a mini concept album. So I had about like 3 or 4 tracks or songs that I was like, okay, great, like this is a good amount, but I was like, I still need more to fill up an album length. The album, if you listen to all the songs in order, it tells a story of a relationship in the way, at first, it opens with Close My Eyes, and it's kind of like a visual into the album you're about to hear. But Weekend in October, it has like the girl who sings it, aka me, but the girl who's listening to it, it's the excitement of a new relationship. Then there is Better Without You, which is later on that shows, oh, I'm better without you, I don't need a relationship anymore. Mm-hmm. And so What Are We was kind of a middle one. So it's right after Weekend in October, and you're like in the midst of a relationship, but you're still kind of talking to them, and you're just so excited. And it's like, what are we? What are we? I hate being just friends, because you want to be more than friends with the person.
And that is definitely a big part of relationships, like kind of the fun part where you really still
exactly
love the person for the concept of what you think they're going to be like.
Yeah, that is exactly what it is.
I'm not a music expert, but I definitely would imagine some of your influences are kind of punk rock or kind of...
I love The Regrets. They are like probably my number one band at the moment. I don't hear many like female bands or just even female artists alone that are making happy, like pumped up music. And so The Regrets are like the only band I've found so far who make really like exciting, like really fun music with a female lead, because like there's so many bands that have that style, like the Chili Peppers, for example, or like Arctic Monkeys, but they're all males. And so The Regrets are just something else. They're just great. And so a lot of my music is, I want to make people feel as excited about my music as I am as excited as their music.
Oh, that's so rad. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me about this. Could you say the name of the band and the album, and I'll put that up front? And, Yeah,
so the name of the artists is The Drink Tickets, which is my band, or my personal artist name is Kaya J, and our album is called Better.
Rate you out of 10. I'd say you're an A.
The FNRad Snowboard Podcast is presented by Vans. Season 8 of FNRad is sponsored by Wired Snowboards, Anon Optics, The Boardroom Snowboard Shop, Find an Epic Agent Worldwide Real Estate, and Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC. For Tribute Board Shop in Nelson, BC, Craig Kelly is the foundation and soul of all they do. For the past 20 years, Tribute has looked to Craig for inspiration and guidance. So if you find yourself in Nelson, be sure to drop by 556 Baker Street and check out their curated selection of snowboards and snowboarding products. Tribute supports the snowboard community, so let's support this one-of-a-kind brick-and-mortar snowboard shop. Check out tributeboardshop.ca, and remember they stock so much more in the store. Support also comes from Dakine, Mount Seymour, Grouse Mountain, Pro Standard GoPro accessories, and Volcom outerwear. For Season 8, all of our episodes are available as videos. Go to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, share the thing. It helps. Thank you very much. Special thanks this episode to Beneath Apparel, Kaya J and the Drink Tickets' new album Better, Nidecker Snowboards, 2-for-1 Clothing, Flow Snowboard Bindings, and Tomahawk Indigenous Products. Mike Basich has been a huge part of pro snowboarding for over 30 years, from winning contests to his unforgettable and unique selfie series of snowboard photos, not to mention building his own off-grid paradise, complete with snowcat and chairlift. Oh, and let's not forget the hot tub. Mike has progressed the connection to nature in snowboarding that matches any other vein of progress in the community. We recorded a block away from his sister Tina's house in his new home, which he was renovating as he rebuilds his family's life after 2 very devastating fires.
But it wasn't probably till after camper that I actually wanted to be a pro snowboarder. Okay, I can actually make a living at this.
Rad.
Because camper was more just like a free fall.
Were you in high school or were you fresh out of high school? Still in high school. Those shots of you guys are in high school.
I graduated in 91.
Yep.
So I was lucky. My sister took me under her wing, I was 12 probably.
Oh, wow.
When I started getting on planes and sneaking in the bars. So it's kind of
God.
I don't know. Having kids now, I'm like, wow, my parents really trusted me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's so unbelievable. And there's no cell phones. So
Nothing.
It's not like they can text you like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Or like, good night. It's like,
I don't think I could do it. Personally, just seeing someone with half shaved head, bright pink hair and look like you just robbed a bank. I'm like, I don't know.
I hear you. Yeah. No, I have kids too. And I guess there's no one in the world that does that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess at the time there was no one in the world doing it either. Like, it's not like your 12-year-old friends are flying places.
Right. Yeah. But I was lucky with my sister, 3 years difference. So
yeah,
she kind of took me and met everybody, went to the trade shows.
She was like a superstar of those days. Like you were there, but she was like a superstar.
She took care of all of us.
Yeah, that's right.
She was like the one that made sure we had a hotel place to stay.
Yeah.
Even if it was at the bar or somewhere, it was warm.
That's amazing. Yeah. So were you guys tight your whole life?
Yeah, in certain ways, just growing up, we got along great.
Yeah,
kind of got along good traveling. I think some way, and I remember when Tina did her 720 in the comp.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, I better step it up. There's a little bit of
some back and forth. Yeah,
but we each had our own spot in the sport.
Totally,
and we kind of ended in different ways. Which seemed pretty natural for how we all kind of went in different directions. I went into photography and Tina wanted to start a family because she was older than I was. And so all this stuff kind of found its place after a 20-year detour.
Yeah. Well, that becomes the life, right? That's a crazy thing. Well, you to me are such a huge inspiration because of Area 241, especially like that. I have a special place in my heart for that. And the geometry in there, the fact that like the sacred geometry is a part of it, and the rising of the sun.
Thanks. I've learned all this as I did it.
That's cool.
There was no master plan, or I didn't go to school to learn all this, but I owe most of everything that I use in my daily life to in between classes and traveling, and my parents saying, "Yeah, do it." Didn't ask how or when or what's going to happen after. Just do it.
Isn't that interesting that it's like, and you grew up with that, and it's really hard to feel like you could give that to your kids, right? The world's changed, though.
It has a lot. It's going to change a lot more. So it's interesting, like how do I prep my kids for the world? It's a very big question that I have, comes and goes, and it's going to get really confusing, it seems like. Yeah,
man. Well, the through line for like the last 20 years of watching you as a pro snowboarder, photographer, brand owner, there's always been some part of it that seems to be like environmentally conscious, or at least like taking into like not just like hype and cell phones and Web 3.0, but more like, hey, we need to integrate with what's going on here on the planet.
I question it myself all the time. What's guiding me?
Yeah.
And it comes down back to nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I can teach that to my kids. And that's why I've done Area 241. Just I believe there's a lot of indigenous truth that comes out of it. Understanding that we're not built for the snow. How do we build stuff for the snow to make us experience, the snow world?
Yeah.
And that's what I do with my clothing.
Yeah.
And so the cabin's been a little bit of like forcing myself into the environment. Traveling was great, all that stuff, but it's so different.
Yeah.
So different.
Yeah.
Like time is very slow. It takes a lot just to, make tea and get ready for the day. And having kids, I'm shifting a little bit to getting a little bit like propane heater and these other things. Because my rule of thumb was whatever I build, I don't want to have to feed it. Maybe anything on the property, I could feed it firewood and rocks, whatever, like water.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of diving in a little bit just in the domestic lifestyle.
I love that.
I want my kids to have a good experience and not freeze if we get wet. That there's an outlet to have a good experience if it goes bad.
So it's just an evolving philosophy, right? Like it's like you can rough it, but then with a kid, you're like, I don't know how much roughing I want to make the kid endure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 50 now.
Yeah,
and what I've been trying to do is create something timeless. Because I see through my whole career and everybody else, you hit a point where it's really hard to get a sponsor.
Oh yeah,
they're like, we don't see how this is going to work. And so over and over, I've tried and reinvented myself if I want to stay in the sport.
Yeah.
And my self-portrait was a big one like that, and I realized how to market myself differently to get funds, even just to get out in the snow. And now I have Area 241 that's more of a lifestyle that I don't have to say my age. I don't have to do a 720.
Yeah.
I can like harness something that we can kind of all relate to.
100%.
And that's kind of my goal, to share that. It's another part of my life, that woodworking and building. I didn't do that in the Kemper Pro days. And then
right.
It wasn't until, my early 30s, I was like, okay, I want to share what I truly love also. And I made a film, Open Space. That was a huge one of just like, this is my timeline of everything documented, and this is what I believe in snowboarding. And I walked the other way. That was my vibe. Like,
yeah,
okay. I did everything I wanted to, and, people started calling me like, hey, like, you want to do this and that? And I was like, wow, there's still a place in the sport. It's just, I didn't expect it.
That's such a rad spot too, to be in, because it's like, it's authentic. That's the big thing, is that you don't have to do something, a lot of times when people are up on that stage dropping in for a big air or whatever, they're scared as fuck. They're trying to jump that's bigger than they've ever hit before, trying a trick they've landed once or twice before. Right. Like, that's authentic too, but it's probably not what you would wake up in the morning and choose to do, right? But your stuff, like your journey, watching your journey, you were profiled in 100 Words for Snow too, right? Was that right? That was super sick.
That was a fun They didn't plan on it. It was actually at the after lane. They had a couple clips because I hosted them on the drive to Alaska.
Oh, cool.
And we had a lot of trouble with their trailers, and they were like, wow, this is a pretty unique adventure. So the next year, robot food fell apart, and David was like, I just want to make films. And so let's film your trip up. So it was
so beautiful.
A lot of filming. A lot of filming.
Was it?
Yeah. But, putting 72 hours of straight driving with filming turns into like at least 140.
Oh my God. Right. I never thought about that. Right. I don't think about what goes into behind the films, but of course.
It's a lot of setup. Yeah.
It looks like you're just driving along, but really to make it look like you're driving along, you got to stop and double back and wait for the light.
Got a huge trailer. Got to drop the filmer off at the bottom of the hill, go up the windy road, find a turnaround.
Oh my God. Yeah.
We didn't have drones, No. That stuff. We were all doing mostly all 16
millimeter. It was film, right? Like it was a beautifully shot thing.
Yeah. So I learned a lot with that. I learned a lot with shooting with photographers, of course, as a professional. But I owe a little bit to Mark Gallup.
Oh, cool.
Of what I've learned. Like,
that's a rad Canadian name right there.
I'll never forget it. He's taking photos and he's like, this is half of the work.
Half.
At the most.
Yeah.
So it's really to make this work is you gotta actually pitch it. You got to put a word behind it, some sort of experience story that you can hand over to somebody and go visit the magazines. Yeah. So I did that. I did that for years.
Nice.
I drive down to Southern California with a binder of slides.
Yes.
And just like, here I am. I got a story about these pages if you want to do a story. And then again, had to pitch myself directly without an agent. I never had an agent, so I just naturally felt pretty correct to walk in the door myself.
Yeah.
So, I owe that to Mark Gallup.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really freaking cool. Yeah, I'm starting to put it together here too. You were kind of a lone wolf as far as like you're not a part of a crew.
It's super lonely.
Yeah, shit.
The interesting thing about self-portraits, it's super corny. I mean, this is like 99, somewhere in there. And there's still like the jibbers, the punk.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
And imagine like someone I'm going to take a photo of myself.
Right.
So it took me like 2 years to like show artistic photo.
Yeah.
And that kind of got me recognition that doing self-portraits was not a cheesy idea.
What was the first one that caught fire?
There's one. It was actually my first one that I spent several weeks taking it. But it's a rail out in the desert. I had brought some snow inside my van and had a ladder with plywood on it. Yeah. Put fake grass and some snow on it.
Rad.
Yeah, I have the Big Dipper. It's a slow sunset exposure.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting because all these photos that I have, never know, like especially this type of thing with slides, it's you do all this work. I drive 2 hours out in the desert and you bring snow. It takes, and this one took me 5 weeks. More because the first time I shot the whole roll without knowing it. Yeah. And I didn't get anything. So I'm like, okay. No. And then the other ones were too early to get the sunset I wanted, and some were too late. It's too dark, and because of the speed shutter blurriness. But anyway, that's probably my first photo, that I'm pretty proud of. And I kind of had one photo every year that stood out. Rad. So the next year I had a big rainbow rail. And this was a funny time in snowboarding because if you looked at a magazine, 90% of the photos were rails. Okay. I hate rails. I did then. I still do. And so I'm like, okay, if I want to survive, I gotta do this.
Got to do a rail shot.
I'm like, all right, I'll do it my way. I'm going to make a big rainbow rail and I'll take it to Alaska. No one's doing rails up there. Yeah. So I just set it up in a parking lot that had like a tabletop gravel pit with snow on it and got towed in by Tiffany Jones, Jeremy's wife. Yeah. Because that was just her and we were filming out there and it worked out, Again, don't know. This is a slide era. And same with the following year, my helicopter drop. No idea if I got anything,
That is, if there's one that stands out for me, they all stand out. That's the thing is that they actually all stand out. Like you say, those ones each year. But that one, whenever you post it on social media, people go, that's fake or whatever. Then somebody will post the like grainy video who took that grainy video?
Eric, forget his name. his last name, but he was with Terex Clothing.
Yeah.
Because we shared the heli with 3 skiers doing a film.
Yeah.
Because I brought a filmer to shoot this. And
Yeah.
he missed the shot.
Oh,
He's like, I was waiting for you to come down.
oh my God.
But he got it on Super 8.
Yes.
But he's already at the bottom of the hill, so it looks a little different. But
Yeah.
it was that also another photo. Like I got a lot of like heat on it, like it was a stunt publicity thing.
Well, it kind of was, in what I understand from what you've had published out there, that you didn't want the heli in the shot. You wanted it to be an impossible shot, which when you crop out the heli, it's impossible.
Right.
It's just impossible.
And that was the main goal, just do something weird.
Yeah.
And of course, slides helps you because you're like, it's not Photoshop.
It's not Photoshop, right? Yeah.
But it ended up in a lot of weird magazines. Ended up in a couple porn mags in Europe.
What?
Like it did. Like Snowboard Journal ran it.
Yep.
And Snowboard UK ran it on their cover.
Wow.
And Snowboard UK was actually the only one who ran it without the heli. So
they ran it the right way. Yeah.
Nobody else did.
No, everybody kept the heli in because it looks just crazy with the heli too.
Right. Well, they're like, that gives you a measure.
Yeah. It's like a photoshopped. It's like you made a photoshopped photo without Photoshop.
I do wish I had Justin Hosnick was on the other peak behind it.
Yeah.
And he saw me just fall out of the heli. Because the other side, it's actually like a 500-foot cliff.
Ooh.
Just rock.
Yeah.
And wow. I so wish he shot it from there.
Yeah.
It would have been pretty neat. I went back to the spot 7-8 years ago and rode down the slope again.
Would you ever consider doing something like that again? The helicopter got blown up, right? Like you weren't supposed to drop that far.
Well, there's a funny truth to all this.
Okay.
I made some decisions after I took it from people's response of, it's a publicity stunt. This is not snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I got what I wanted. It doesn't really matter if that gets told exactly, but I wanted it to be so big it looked impossible.
Yes.
And if I was going to do it again, I would probably say 10 feet shorter.
It would still look impossible,
I'd still want it
dude.
To be, a little over 100 feet. People do that now off of cliffs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the smartest thing to do, of course.
No.
But I wanted it to be big enough so that heli, when it's out, there's no way. There's a quarter pipe. There's no way that made that possible.
Yeah.
And so I changed my story, when it came out. I'm like, I didn't really know. And it was a really tricky situation because there's no reference when you're floating in the air. You normally have like a tree or a mountain close by, but I was just going like this to the heli.
Oh,
and I had my hands, I was gripped. I had his pants. I was like holding on tight.
Yeah.
Which you never normally don't touch the pilot at all.
No.
And he's like, because my board had a huge amount of pressure from the downdraft.
Okay. Oh, right. So it shoots you out.
Yeah, I could not lift my feet off the skid. And it was only like, it was the nose of it, so I'm balancing my board with who knows how many miles per hour wind's pushing on my board. But I realized, I remember that going, I don't get to make all my choices. Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about the logistics of it, like the idea that you would drop straight down even would be almost impossible.
Yeah. I owe that to jump cliffing into rivers. Cause I've always learned throw your chest forward.
Oh.
And when you're ready, bring your feet back down.
Interesting.
Otherwise, just start drifting
back. Yeah. You see that a lot with people that go off cliffs that are either they didn't expect it, they go straight upside down. Even Jim Rippey doing a stunt though with the parachute. Does he not fall way backwards? I think he does.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do, but that was on my mind a lot because
cool.
This is definitely going to be big, and
you
can see the snow rotor moving stuff. So I'm like, okay,
I got you.
I got this.
Yeah.
And I promised myself, I'm like, if I don't feel this, I'm not doing it.
Right.
And of course that time was a limit. I had my glove off for the remote. So I'm like, I probably got about another minute or two and then it'll be too cold.
Wow.
And I'm
so did you drop it with no glove on or did you press the button, put on a glove?
I pushed it as I was jumping.
So
when you take self-portraits, a lot of the natural instinct is you push it when you grab your board.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember starting it. I remember halfway down looking at it, thinking like, am I doing this? And like started pushing it again. And then I was like, oh, I better prepare for landing.
So are you shooting a sequence, or is that a single shot? You shoot a sequence.
Yeah. And this was on a N90 Nikon.
Yeah.
I think it shot like 5 or 7 frames a second.
Yeah.
So 36 frames,
So you blow through that.
You don't have time to like get it.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So, and plus you have to hold it. You have to keep the remote actually pushing to have it continue. And
it's so impossible what you did. It's impossible.
well, it's been, I don't know. Sometimes I get the shivers looking at the photo.
Yeah.
But when I did it, I'm like, okay, that's what I wanted it to be. And I'm done. I felt like I was like in between a flying squirrel and,
Yeah.
not making it or not. So it was like in between the threshold of us letting go and seeing what happens. And it became, most thing everyone's known me for.
Yeah. Because it's so over the top. Like it is one of those spikes in snowboard photography, like the Mark Fawcett shot, scrubbing out the skier.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And we're still, 20 years later, we're still holding ground. It's like,
yeah.
I'm like, okay. It was kind of unique.
That's pretty badass. That's really cool. What was the photo the year after the heli drop?
The one after.
I'm trying to think. There was one with the bunny suit.
That was the GoPro days.
Oh, that was before.
Yeah. I don't remember what was after. Because after that, we did the 91 Words for Snow.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of money that year. I lost my sponsor.
Oh.
And I only opened a snowboard shop.
Yeah.
And it's actually in 91 Words for Snow.
Yeah.
Leaving.
Yeah.
And so that whole project sank me pretty hard financially.
I got you.
And I stuck with it. I believed in photography. There was something still to be done. And I put quite a bit of more the POV style. Able to get special lenses from people to borrow and different mounts that Trevor Graves let me borrow this body mount.
Cool.
So some of the 91 Words for Snow, the film's done with that. But yeah, I don't have any specific ones after that, I guess.
Okay.
I think the next one is like more the fireworks.
Yeah.
Then I started painting light. Actually, no. Mount Baker Road Gap at 3 a.m.
Oh, sick.
That was a
God.
big one. That was after the heli.
Yeah. What's the setup for that? Is this, so you don't have a team of people helping you out here. It's you.
Yeah. Well, the Baker Gap, it took me, I think, 3 days to find somebody to go with me.
Yeah.
So we jumped in the daytime, got familiar with the runway. But everything I'm working with is not designed to do this. So I had the $10 flashlight, just sitting in the snow so I can see the runway and all these different things that only had so much time in the cold.
Yeah.
So I think I did it 3 times. And there's actually a neat shot because it's a time lapse over, I think, like 12 seconds. So I fired the shot as I started.
Yeah.
And then you get the ambient light to show you the background. And then there's another remote. You switch this over to flash. Yeah. And so when I'm in the peak, as long as I had a black background, I would show up. Yeah. Of course, I can't see after a flash in my eyes, so I had no idea when I was going to land.
Oh, my God.
But again, these is one of those things I'm like, I just want to see if I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so.
Where did that drive come from? Was it a bit like you knew you had to do something unique to stay in snowboarding? Or was it you already had an artistic kind of bone in your body?
I don't know what else to do. Honestly, I'm like, I'm not going to become a team manager. I'm not going to get a job in the industry. I'd rather go in the woods and chop firewood. Mm-hmm. So I kind of made a decision a little bit. Like, I love the people in this industry. Like, I don't want that to go away. And so photography gave me the freedom to do that on my timeline. Mm-hmm. It was a lot of work pitching and making money, but I learned, like, never in the story, like, come back next year, we might have part of the budget. Right. I'm like, okay, heard that 1,000 times. What if I offered you something from your photography budget? Yeah. Are you out on your photography budget? I'm like, well, no, we haven't figured that part out. So I'm like, well, I'll chase Jeremy around and all these other riders, and I'll supply you with photos. Some will be shots people can't even get. I'll jump off the cliff with them. Sure. And so I got Mark Sullivan was a big part of, like, yeah, let's get you doing unique stuff. Cool. And he put me on the premiere cover. And then he hired me for a motocross shot.
Okay.
shoot for Scott goggles.
Oh, sick.
And I shot with Jeremy McGrath and Tim Ferry.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And so I was shooting the camera on the ground, but I mounted it on their chest. And so this is actually slide film days still. And so I got a little bit of an outlet, made some money again.
Yeah.
And it worked out. Like I was actually getting a check in the mail once in a while for $1,000, $2,000.
Yeah.
Just stories that would run. Because I would sit down, I'd spend 2-3 weeks writing a story about going to Alaska. And then I'd pitch it to 6-7 different magazines around the world.
Yeah.
So that's like a $10,000 project.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's definitely worth, putting into this. And of course, it's hard work, but I enjoyed it. Like it was my niche. I felt I've more or less, in a nutshell, I felt like something was supposed to happen and I wanted it to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew there was something going to be there. If I didn't do it, it'd be there at some point.
Yeah.
And the photography world was like, okay, I have the ability to ride with a camera.
Yeah.
A photographer doesn't. He can't go off a 70-foot kicker.
No.
Like I have something I can offer.
Yeah. A lot of those early photographers, like when I think of Guy Motil or Bud Fawcett, Rob Gracie, like a lot of these guys are just, it's a chore for them to get out in the snow.
Yeah. And they're amazing photography. Like I'll never be
they're so good
in that spot.
Oh, they're so
but
good.
I'm like, I got my own little spot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's some
Yeah.
great leverage.
Yep. That's super cool.
I rode that for at least 10 years.
Nice. And at what point did you get the property?
Property was a big point. Like I was 33 and I was like, well, okay, I have this dream, as a kid, and am I going to do it or am I going to not do it? I could easily go live in a condo and be set.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, well, I want to see what this looks like. And so I found this property through Tiffany Jones. She was my realtor. And we snowmobiled up there and got lost. But I was like, if it's anywhere close, I'll take it.
Nice.
So
Nice.
I made an offer. And I looked at a couple other, like more houses in Donner.
Okay.
But for a quarter of the price, I can get 40 acres.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I don't need anything fancy. I owned a house before. I know it's a lot of work. So just give me like a place to rest my head. And I want to be in the snow so I can actually walk out my door and go snowboarding.
Rad.
It's done enough of it traveling. I still love to travel, but like if I have no red tape to shoot photography, like I could do anything. I could set up for weeks, even in the summer getting ready. And that's kind of been my niche, just kind of like offering, again, something unique.
So unique, yeah.
More just wanting people to wake up a little bit, on the off grid, the consumption of what we use.
You went so deep in that. At one point, was the chairlift not going to run on like the creek? That was.
I'm still dreaming that. Yeah, and I'm not perfect of any of this being like off grid.
No,
100%.
I hear you, man. It's a philosophy more than it is like, you're blazing a path.
Yeah, you just try. And I've spiraled a little bit when you start thinking hard about it all. Mm-hmm. There is no clear answer.
Right.
And it's just a sad one that you do kind of see. So it's like, well, okay, life is about moments. I'm going to do the best I can to experience what, nature. And so that's where I'm up at 7,000 feet and
wow,
get 20-foot base of snow.
Was it designed for 20 feet of snow? Where would you get that knowledge?
I didn't really calculate it out much.
Oh, wow.
But I have, my cousin worked in the metal industry.
Okay.
Built parking lots and stuff. So
yeah.
He bent this I-beam that's the curve of the cabin. And I was just asking, how much can it hold? And, he's like, well, if you put this post, it should hold, 4 or 5 cars. I'm like, okay. Because I'm at 430 pounds per square foot.
Okay.
For a snow load.
Yeah.
So I forget what it comes out to, but it's a lot.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But what I learned is I spent 1 year just kind of getting familiar with the property, and I realized the wind is my friend. And so the wind blows a lot of the snow off the cabin.
Oh, sick.
Acts kind of like a tree well around the door.
Yeah.
And so these different things kind of like, I tried to listen as much as I could to be more in harmony and work less.
Yeah. That's like the permaculture philosophy, right?
Yeah. And again, I'm like living in the snow. There's nothing like, environmentally like correct about it in some ways. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
I could go live somewhere I could wear a t-shirt and not have to buy clothes.
I got you.
I don't have to eat my house. It's all this stuff gets really confusing when you like start being conscious.
Right.
Of all this stuff. And you try, you know, but it's like, okay, this is what I love. You know, that's the most important. Like, if I love what I do, I can pass something on that's worth doing.
At the end of the day, you can rest your head on your pillow going, I'm doing what I love to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. So I hope I pass that on to my kids. You know, when my first kid was born, I bought the 40 acres next to me.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So
Congrats.
I'm kind of wanting to just be secure with, you know, Mother Nature the most I can.
Yep.
And that's kind of like, I love being up there. No one's above me.
Yeah.
I watch the storm drop the snow, melts, goes down the creek, you know, goes in my hot tub.
That was the addition where I was like, okay, now I could see I need something like this. Yeah.
So, but of course I built something like more bachelor style. So
certainly
my plan is to actually at some point get going on something else. So
like on the property.
Yeah.
So that's 1.0 and then you'll get the next thing.
Yeah.
And
I saved
keep
actually like a spot in case I had a family.
Yes.
I'd build a house. So
yeah.
Here I am, and I figured it's going to take me 5-7 years to build it. So
Of course. When did the whole family thing happen?
So the family was kind of, it just came about of wanting to have that in my life. It felt a right to do that with my partner.
Yes.
And it wasn't a super easy thing. You know, we struggled and learned and found our way. And, you know, it's a very big adventure.
Oh my God, it's huge.
Yeah. And it's even like I have 2 healthy boys that are here, and it's still just like, wow. I am so vulnerable and testing my abilities to, you know, stay calm.
Oh, that's a big one.
See actually what's going on in someone that's, you know, bouncing off the wall or whatever it may be.
Totally.
So it raises your consciousness and the risk feeling. Like I can't imagine going to Alaska. I haven't been in for 3 years.
Yeah.
The thought of going there, I'm like, wow, I'm really curious what that's going to be to me.
Yeah.
Some people are fine, but
Devin Walsh is on Wired, one of the sponsors of the show. And so like, you know, Rob wants him to get shots. And I'm like, well, I had a sled. I'm like, just come, let's go. You know, we'll do one sled day. We can get 50 shots.
Yeah.
It's Devin. It's like, he's got the most skill of anyone. And he was like, I promised my kids that I wouldn't go in the backcountry. Isn't that crazy? I'm like, how could you do that? But then I think about it as a parent and I'm like, yeah, not risking stuff. Okay. I get that.
Yeah. It's, I mean,
not risking your life. Right.
Yeah. I'd say you have a responsibility to, you know, hopefully you'll supply until they're on the ground, you know, smart enough to make their own decisions and make it through that time. Cause I'm just trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to keep them alive. You know, it's like, so hard to like just walk. I mean, we've been in a construction zone for two years now.
Yeah.
And just having someone be safe around saws or nail guns, you know, this is never ending of like making sure I'm on it. And, we're landing here right now, which is really exciting to maybe by next weekend, we'll actually be here.
Like move in.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like you're pretty much there. The last is the painting, right?
Yeah. So.
And all the trim and then, it is so much work, isn't it?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, your oldest is in school right now?
He just started at a Waldorf school, not too far from here.
Cool.
He just turned 4.
It's a surprise how little time they're actually at school when they first join. Hey, it's almost like, what do I do for those 2.5 hours?
He's having a hard time with it too. So it's
because
half the day.
I had a hard time with it.
Yeah,
I stayed and watched my kids.
Yeah, I did that for 3 days, and then the teacher's like, "You gotta rip the Band-Aid off."
Yes. That's what they said to me with my son. I did 2 years.
2 years.
I did all of kindergarten and all of grade 1. I would be there on my days off, like on a Monday, Tuesday, I think, and I would just like hang out and like not even just with my daughter. I would just like help with the class and read stories and do stuff. I don't know. I was really worried about.
Yeah, that's the hardest part though, because your consciousness is so different than your child's.
Oh, and so different.
Because the 4th day, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave him. I'm gonna leave. And I literally like ripped him off my neck. You know, I was screaming like I was throwing him off a cliff.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it felt like. I'm like, this is hard.
Yeah.
You know, but when I picked him up, you know, he's happy. He's, you know, like,
Right.
so I'm like, okay.
Right.
You know, his response is more exaggerating. You know, of course, we don't want to dramatize our kids, of course.
Totally.
And we got that for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But of course, I thought I'd be a little more like hardship, you know, making my kids work a little hard. And I'm hoping to still do that at a young age.
Yes.
And that's, again, why I have area 2-for-1, just to go split firewood. And,
instill that hardworking gene in there, because you need to have that. I know I had all sorts of ideas of what being a dad was. Some on that realm of like making a Shaun White, like, okay, this kid's going to snowboard when he's 1, you know what I mean? But then I'm not that parent. I'm a parent that is like, I'm going to put a lot of different options in front of you and let you make the choice and kind of watch from a distance as you learn your way. I can't be the guy that's there telling my kid, you jump down that stairway and hit that rail with your board, or you're not getting supper or whatever. And I'm not saying Sean's parents did that. He had it in him and he brought them along with him on his trip. You can't really make the trip for your kids, right? No. Like, if you're going to have to break your kid to make him chop firewood, you're like, it's just not worth it.
Yeah. But I mean, what I'm finding is I'll spend like 10 days with him, you know, and I'm like, I'm going to go to work. You know, he's like, no.
Right.
And so you realize there's no concept for what gratitude that he did get.
Right.
You know, or the
Oh,
value. Like, so it's either way, it's like, you're still going to get faced with these certain things that, okay, you got to wake up the consciousness of being grateful.
That's a really, really good point. I mean, my kids are 23 and 19 now. So I can tell you from a connected parent point of view that there were some lonely times in the middle where the kids were just 100% take, you know what I mean? And the gratitude wasn't there.
Right.
But I stuck pretty firmly to my philosophy of like, they're intelligent kids. They can make good decisions. My job as a dad is to facilitate like options, like I was saying. And that now that they're 23 and 19 and I see them doing their things and being independent, because there was some time in there where I was like, maybe I did too much for them. You know, maybe it's too much coddling or keeping them away from, you know, hardship or heartache or things that could harm them. Right. But now I feel like they're brave and self-actualized human beings out in the world. So it's awesome.
That's a good job.
Thanks. I got a long road for that. You know what though? That's the reason I'm telling you is because it can feel like it's all for nothing in the middle. It can really feel like, oh man, I'm spoiling my kid, or I'm harming my kid by like, you know, grinding against what they really want to do.
Yeah. But I feel okay with it, wherever I'm going with
it. Yeah, you seem like you'd be an amazing dad.
I try, you know. But it's for what their world's going to be like. That's the one thing I'm like, like, do I teach them math? You know, like instead of like a second language, or they're going to be a second languages, all this stuff. Or I don't need to teach them mechanics. They're probably not going to own their car. All this stuff that's kind of like, I have a certain amount of time to, you know, teach them or raise the consciousness how they can think.
Yes.
And math seems like coding, just to understand it. I don't want them to exactly like dive into the computer, like sci-fi world, but
sure,
you know, it's going to be a big, I don't know, battle in some ways, like remembering what's real and what's not.
Well, it's a crapshoot, just like everything else that you've done. It's like you're kind of gambling, gambling on yourself. Like, what are you gonna? Yeah, because you could teach them something, and then it's just redundant. But like you say, self-driving cars, and it's going to be a big car share program. Like, it's hard to look at the future. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm doing this at 50 years old. I got a 1-year-old. So
yeah.
There's a gap, you know.
I got you. Right. What's your phone philosophy? Like, your 4-year-old's still way too young for a phone. Probably.
Yeah, we don't actually have them talk to anybody on the phone.
Oh wow.
They do know that we each have a phone.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to use it.
They're not playing games on the phone.
We actually haven't done any photography as far as digital or prints.
Oh wow.
Of their selves. You know, they see some stuff at other my grandparents have some photos of them when they were
Of course.
kids. But
Oh, that's cool. What's the philosophy behind that? Just to
well, I went to Waldorf, and so it's a bit based on Rudolf Steiner's idea of like first 3 years as a child, you're actually arriving.
yes,
You know, once you're here, you know, you start using the word I,
yes,
you know, and then all of a sudden you start feeling the wall. You know, you want to know if that wall's there.
yes,
You know, want to know where it breaks.
yes.
And so if you start adding like in a screen, all this at a young age before they even have a conscious of what
Oh, wow.
the physical world is, they think a cow on a screen is going to give them milk.
I got you.
You know, if they push the cow,
Yeah.
milk shows up at the door.
Right. Right.
You know,
right.
that's kind of like what some kids now think that's actually the reality. It's like the cow lives on the screen.
right.
And not everyone gets the opportunity to go see a cow or a cow slaughtered or,
Yeah.
you know, just these things that make up our world. That, so those are my hopes until they're about 7 to maybe 7, 8. I'll probably introduce more of this screen. You know, I mean, we've traveled, so you see the screen. You know, just like, oh, that's an
Right.
advertisement.
Right. Does it suck them in?
It's so. I mean, that's part of also
yeah,
where I'm like
yeah.
a little worried doing it this way because I'm like, when they see it, they're just like,
Yeah.
they're more taken by it. And so, okay, how do you like make it neutral?
Yes.
Because my goal is to raise kids so they can be the most free to feel how they want to feel,
Got it.
not based on certain things that
Yeah.
we're stronger than others.
Yes.
So, of course, you know, if we're going to learn about computer screens, I'm taking this computer screen apart. We're going to see what's behind there.
Interesting.
You know, the battery, and you know, that all it is ones and zeros. You know,
Yeah.
different patterns. That's why I mentioned math. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so those are the things I'm like, okay, it's part of our world, of course.
Absolutely.
So how do you raise your conscious enough to not have certain feelings about it that if you see a bunch of stuff that you don't feel good about yourself. I mean, this is happening like every second of a teenager life right now.
Yeah, I've been watching TV since I'm down here. We don't have TV at my place. We've got Amazon Prime, which is like a crappy assortment of shitty shows and movies that it's just bad enough that, you know, if we want to watch something and gap out, we will, but it's not a nightly thing.
No.
But since I've been here, I got cable in the room, and
It's insane.
there's certain shows that I like, but the ads have gone. The things that they're saying to people, like they're speaking to adult people, like as if they're insanely stupid.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know exactly what you feel.
And like you're just going, did someone actually think like physics? You're gonna take a pill, and in a few days you're gonna be thin. Like that's physically not possible. If it was, you would have such flabby, shitty skin. You would not feel good about yourself anyways.
Right.
But it's not even possible. The things that they're selling aren't possible.
Yeah, most of the people now on the screen aren't actually people.
Yeah.
It's like they put the face on a body a lot of times. Like there's a lot of stuff that I forget what they call it, but it's
Oh, the CGI stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, and what is that? Deep fakes or whatever. They've been getting better and better and better.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
Like when you
yeah.
zoom in, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But of course, like, how do we know the truth? Who's actually saying what our president just said? Like, is that
Right,
him?
right.
Who actually is writing this?
The
And so-
disconnect. The thing that killed me was the disconnect between the product that they're selling and reality, and the fact that like who would not be able to see that this is a celebrity endorsing a thing for money that doesn't do anything.
Oh, yeah.
It seems insane that.
Yeah. So I hope
Yeah.
my boys can, laugh at that and not be like, oh, I need to go buy that.
Yeah, that was hard for me. So yeah, one of the things I set was like no scooters. I was like, you can't scooter in this family. You're gonna have to skateboard. That got broken down, right? Like so, like I don't want to break my kid's heart. He loved scootering. He's riding his friend's scooter and he's having so much fun. Why can't I have one of these? Well, because you have to have the neck breaking, arm breaking skateboard that doesn't work the same, and it just didn't work out for me. And then the celebrity worship thing, I didn't want them to have it. I didn't want them to, but it creeps in, you know?
It does.
It just
so
creeps
hard.
in.
I mean, you go to a restaurant and they got a TV on, and
There's that, and there's, so my son's working in film at 19. He's really excited. Cool. He's a grip. He sent the group, the family text yesterday, Elijah Wood is on the other side of this thing, and I can hear him talking. He's got a funny laugh. And I have to admit, it's kind of like, well, even this, what I'm doing with you, you're my celebrity. So there is some part of us as humans that are like, we do like the celebrity thing.
Yeah, no, it's just an inspiration. It doesn't have to be a huge figure.
Right. Well, it's even better if it's someone like you that's actually doing something that's inspiring, as opposed to people that, you know, think Trump is going to save the world or whatever.
Yeah.
And no offense to
it's all super confusing.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's going
to get even more confusing, I think. Yeah.
I think by design there was. I've listened to a few things that it seems like in the 80s there was like some Russian defectors that came over and saying like, hey, this is how they're gonna, you know, crush America from the inside.
Right.
And it sounds pretty legit. Like it seemed like it's working.
Yeah, no, it's what got us fighting against each other.
Exactly.
People are choosing sides, you know, in the neighborhood. It's not
against your friends. That's the thing. I have friends where I'm like, oh no, that guy is an anti-vaxxer or something like that. Like, I don't want to use that shorthand. That's the thing for me, is I'm a middle ground guy. I'm like a realist. Like, you know, Terry gets kicked off of Burton. I'm like, okay, I can see how that would happen. Like, what's the other side of it? Oh, there were actually people in the gay community that were really physically or psychologically hurt by what he's saying.
Yeah.
And they have a point. But then, you know, then they're calling him a homophobe. I'm like, well, isn't that kind of, now you're doing to him what he did to you?
We need to find a level of respect for
yes,
stuff you don't believe in. It's just
more respect for what you don't believe in, 100%.
Yeah, so
and allowing people to, you know, even if it's a dumb decision, people didn't respect what we were doing with snowboarding at all.
Well, right.
They were like, "Are you kidding me? You're going to skateboard or snowboard? Oh, you're a derelict. You're a drug addict. You know, criminal." You'd be like, "No, I'm just a regular kid that's having fun in a community that's really supportive."
Right.
But you couldn't say that because you had green hair, and you'd say, "Oh, go fuck yourself." Yeah, we need more. We need more understanding for sure.
Yeah.
So, I think the listeners of the show have it because they haven't stopped listening, and I talk about this stuff all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it goes on. You know, what we're going to be faced with. So
yeah,
I mean, that's what I'm just trying to be in nature as much as I can.
Yeah.
Just be here, and somewhat I'm hoping to add a little bit of different things to my snowboarding to
cool.
Just, you know, find another niche.
Who's supporting you at this point? Like, what are your sponsors?
Nidecker.
Cool.
Board sponsor.
Yeah.
I've been with Flow for 10 something years.
Those guys are great.
Yeah. So they're a great family. They get it.
Yeah.
You know, they're smart people. They make good quality stuff.
Totally.
They're after the right stuff. So I'm super proud to be on board with them.
Cool.
Working on some other stuff with them to hopefully hit the market in a year or two.
Oh, rad.
So, hopefully I'll be with them for a while. You know, I can only supply so much. I'm not sitting down doing edits every night. So.
Right.
But, you know, I think I can bring something that's unique enough that they can figure out how to market that.
I like that. That's dope. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We'll see how it all pans out, you know.
What are your snowboarding goals as far as like days a week that you go now that you're like, I guess you're probably full-time dad?
Not
part-time, half-time.
I mean,
dad?
we're both full-time parents pretty much. We don't have a 9-to-5 job.
Oh, that's great.
So we take turns, you know, take a week off, you know, go stay up at the cabin or go on a trip. And
rad.
It being 3 years of the pandemic, you know, Japan opened, so I'll probably go to Japan this year.
Sweet.
Get a handle on everything over there. And,
yeah.
Probably go to Alaska.
Nice.
So
nice.
See what that really is for me.
Yeah.
Probably just go by myself, but I want to get my kids up there pretty young.
Yeah.
So it's more just trying to fill out snowboarding again. You know, it's been a rough year with the fires. So all I've been doing for 2 years is I have a list in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Or I'm going to at least try.
Wow.
You know, I'm like, okay, I got 2 of those out of the 300.
Oh, man.
And wasn't until probably 4 or 5 months ago that kind of like, oh, I'm going to sit down and I could breathe.
Yeah.
Because what I learned with fire, like the whole fire experience, adrenaline kind of kicks in. And it stayed with me for a year.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it not so much doesn't feel like anxiety or like worried about fire, but it's more just about something in me is in gear to survive this time. And that wore off where a year later, I was like, oh, wow, this is really what happened. You know, because we lost everything.
So the first fire was your house?
The first fire was the shop.
Oh, the first fire was the shop. Sorry.
Yeah, so that was electrical fire.
Yeah.
And the shop's my go-to for building projects.
Yes.
So my welders, all the saws, all that stuff's there. My 2-for-1 stock.
Yep.
And so all my archives.
The archive stuff, that was a heartbreaking post. When I read that, I was like, oh my God.
I got some stuff. I mean, it's all black, but
yeah,
I kept some of it.
But yeah.
So that was kind of a moment of like, well, I'll save a couple things and I'll put it over at our farm because that's my next safest place. And then 8 months later, the farm burned. And I was just like, oh my God.
Shit.
Like I had 4,000 books, my self-portraits just gone.
Oh man.
You know, and it's interesting because it's, in a way, if I put a word to it, it's like a forced cleanse. It's just, you don't have a choice and you rise to the occasion, especially having kids. You're like, okay, I'm going to make this not a dramatic experience for my kids. You know, we went to the coast and just chilled. And of course, the support was amazing throughout the world that made all of this possible to get back on our feet.
Yeah.
And I owe so much to everybody out there. It's like, that was, the vulnerability was actually the hardest part.
I can imagine.
Because you want to give back and you don't know how, and it's not, you don't have the time right now.
Yes.
I hope at some point I'll be able to give back on a global way somehow.
Sure, of course.
But it was, it was overwhelming in a way that I realized what I've done in snowboarding. Like, I don't think I would know otherwise.
Oh, I see.
Because everybody might think it, but a lot of people reached out and just said, thank you for what you've done. You know, I don't need money, but here's a t-shirt or whatever they could offer.
Yep.
And that was my gift. And I'm like, wow. I realized it's like going to your own funeral in a way.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like, you see the reflection of who you are.
Oh, wow.
And I inspired people. And, you know, it's in a simple way of words. So I was like, okay, I'm on the right track.
Yeah, man.
You know, I hope to continue that, but I wouldn't have known on the level before. Like, I've had people come up to me and thank me for something they saw, but with the fires, it's really something else.
Just an outpouring of just love, right? Because that's it. You've put it out there. Like, that is the thing that I've seen from you for 30 years in snowboarding, is that you love it.
Yeah.
And that you're doing it. And yeah, I don't want to claim, I don't know if I've donated to the Kickstarter. I know I probably did. I know I bought a shirt that somebody did. Foo Fighters did a shirt?
Yeah, the Heli.
Yeah.
Black and white.
Oh, which is sick.
That was shocking.
Yeah.
That even
so
a band
rad.
like Foo Fighters would put a t-shirt of me on their website. You know,
how crazy. That was awesome.
Wow. This is true love. And
as someone who's donated to Kickstarter, I remember Jeremy Jones broke his legs. We talked about this, he and I, because he felt a deep sense of guilt over not being able to answer the messages, and it was a significant sum of money, but I would never ever want you to feel any of that guilt if for that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this is way more than enough. Just saying, like, that you appreciated it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I remember the day after the shop fire, I've been Airbnb my tiny home, driving one at my cabin, and they checked in the next day, and it was late. It was in November 4th, I think. The fire was, or 3rd. And I remember going to the gas station to meet him. I was like, I don't have a sweater. I'm cold. You know, I'm like, God. I don't own a sweater. Okay. And like, it's just like, I felt more naked than I've ever felt.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of like, I mean, call it a unique experience.
Yes.
Because it was, but back to like the vulnerability of just figuring out, like, I have everything I actually need. You know, I got my health, I got my boys. No one died in the fires. So I'm like, I have to be grateful.
Yeah.
You know, and all the stuff that gone, it's gone. My kids maybe don't want all my snowboard bibs, you know.
I do. I would definitely want a Mikey Basich snowboard bib. I get what you're saying 100%. Yeah. There's something that happened in my own life was I noticed if I could put distance between something happening and my reaction to it, that I could actually then choose how to react. The distance between something happening and you accepting what it actually is, I think that you could label that intelligence. I think so. Like you could label that like.
Maybe. I mean, but we have the right to be upset.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it's like I remember I took a baseball bat to the dryer. You know, I was just like, wow, I gotta let this out. You know, because I feel something strong and
wow.
And also, you're like, okay, let's see what I am. You know, this is a different experience I've never experienced or even thought about experiencing.
Right. Right.
So it's kind of like, wow. This is the new me. Like, I don't have a choice, but I got to work with it.
Wow.
So those are the things I'm like, okay, I don't want to pass anything on to my kids, you know, knowledge, you know, whatever, but trauma or, you know, they're young, so it worked out great, but
yeah. Yeah.
But I made some decisions, you know, the kids don't really know what happened.
Sure.
But, you know, the storm came and the house isn't there anymore. And
right. So they don't grow up being like, I'm that kid that's house burned down, right?
Yeah.
Like identifying as that.
Yeah. I figured when I have time to make a photo book and just write all the stories about it and give it to them when they're 18.
Yeah, rad.
You know, something like that. So.
Or when they ask, right? If
right.
you ask when he's 16, what happened to that house? Oh, that's sweet, dude. Yeah. I mean, hearing that you hit the dryer with the baseball bat, I can't even imagine you being upset, but I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
It's an insane situation to find yourself in.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And it's a big part of the man, you know, the masculinities, you know, has some normal behaviors that are inappropriate, you know, in public or like whatever it may be.
I got you, man.
But it's an old indigenous real thing.
Yes.
Like we have to respect it, but harness, like let each other work ourselves out with it.
Accept it. Right. That's why sports and things like that are so good for people for sure. Yeah. Like a normal human life has all the emotions, has happiness and sadness and anger and frustration and all the things.
Yeah, so it's welcoming it. I think it's the best you can do.
But it's super hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see as I get older with the kids, you know, because what I'm learning is like, how do you play the rock? Yep. But share me the feelings you have.
Yes.
You know, like how do you do that?
Yeah.
Enough so they trust if they're gonna say something, you're not gonna be like, you know, time out or whatever your rules are.
Right, man.
So those are the things that are kind of coming up with my 4-year-old right now. It's kind of like, okay, how am I going to be a buddy and a big stone that he knows I'm there?
Yes, yeah,
teach him the discipline part of it.
Yep. Well, you just talked about it earlier on about when a kid becomes, you know, they'll call it the terrible twos and terrible threes when they say no, like where they're finding the edge of wait, no. Yeah.
But it's amazing because that's who the person is. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, I feel myself.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, this is what I'm going to do.
Mine. They start going, mine. No. And I think the thing that I'm doing is trying to create people that are well balanced and happy.
Yeah. I think that's all you can hope for. I mean, I've had funny situations, I'm sure you have, like just being in public and you're trying to teach your kid, like, pick up the fork. You know, and of course someone walks over and picks up the fork and gives it to him.
Yeah. What are you doing, buddy? Yeah. It's cool to see you. I don't know how long it's been since that last one, probably 3 years.
Right. Yeah, so probably sound different.
Yeah. Like you're definitely, absolutely the fires are going to change you. Like you said.
What I've learned out of it all, it's like, we just have moments. Like, that's it. You know, like cherish them. Because with a parent and the fire, you're just like, tomorrow's going to be really different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this place could burn or something big could happen. But,
Yes.
And there's no plan that we're going to like, at the end, be like, okay, I did it all.
We're 100% safe and we got nothing else to do.
Yeah. And we try, of course, but
Yeah.
I've realized to be in the moment more is what I'm kind of sharing, like to really appreciate the now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's put me in a spot where I'm making different choices of what I take on because I'm 50. So I'm looking at, okay, I got 20 years.
Yep.
You know, and then I'm not going to probably be able to run on the beach, climb a tree, you know, all this stuff that I'm like,
Right.
okay, what am I going to do with the 20 years plus raising kids? I'm like, I need to be selective a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Because I dream a lot, and there's so many people bring wood or stuff that you want this, like
Yeah. Yeah.
But I gotta like reel back and find my way with what I want to do with all this stuff I've learned and dream and see what that looks like.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I bragged a lot about the idea that you and I might be able to go to 2-for-1. Like I was like telling friends and people were like just in disbelief, like as if, dude. And so that inspiration that you've provided for me, like that there's a human being, that you exist and are real and have done this stuff is super duper inspiring, man. And I really, on behalf of everybody that's watching, like, thank you for being authentically yourself.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, dude, you're the best. Yeah, so I guess I'm telling the listeners, you know what, I'm not going to Area 2-for-1
We'll
today.
go in the morning. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I'm not putting you on the spot to say it. I'm like, that's just could be in the future, you know?
Well, yes, but I'm, you'd be laughing at the snowmobile I have because my other one burned to the ground. And
Oh, no.
I got this $500 snowmobile.
Yep.
It's missing one of the skis, so I got to see how to get it going tomorrow so I can at least go get my snowcat.
Yeah.
I can try split boarding, but
How far in is it from the road?
it's 3 miles.
So it's 3 miles in. That's a long split board.
If it's deep, I
Yeah.
won't be able to walk at the end of the.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done it a couple of times, and I've buckled my knee every time I try to kick my ski.
Oh, man.
Over the snow. So
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this is just, it's experiences. That's the thing, right?
Yes. Yeah, but I'm excited for the winter.
Yeah, man.
See what it brings, and
It's already a fairly solid snow base in early December. So yeah, it's rad.
Great winter, and I'm finally grounded from the fires. So
Yeah.
okay. I'm ready to have fun and dream and get rid of my list every morning and just see what I feel like doing.
Love it, dude. Love it. Awesome. Thanks again for doing the show.
Yeah.
All right. That's killer. FNRad shoutouts this week to Mike Basich and his family. I hope one day I'll visit Area 241. I'm feeling it. It would be great. Special thanks to listener Hayden Pocock. That lucky dude won so many prizes from our raffles, it seemed like there was a fix-in. But he just flew into Vancouver from Australia, and I met him for the first time earlier this week. We were able to shred a grouse evening and an afternoon on the North Shore backcountry. He's a good dude, and possibly the first guy I've met who could talk as much as I do. Thanks for the visit, Hayden. That was rad. And thank you, listeners who make it right to the end. Be sure to come back next week for another episode of FNRad Snowboarding, presented by Vans and brought to you by SIA Productions.